What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 4th Doctor Tom Baker story, The Ark in Space. This is the second episode in Season 12, which also means that it's the second episode, or second story, starring Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor. So yeah, only his second ever story, and I hadn't seen this one before watching this one just today, so I was interested to see what this would be like. I've seen Robot before, which is his first story. Haven't reviewed that one yet because I don't have it on DVD yet, but I have seen that one before, but I haven't seen the second episode, The Ark in Space, so I was interested to see what it would be like. So let's go to the back of the DVD. This is The Ark in Space by Robert Holmes. The TARDIS lands on a space station orbiting Earth in the distant future. It's seemingly deserted, but the Doctor, Sarah and Harry soon discover that they are not alone. Thousands of humans are in cryogenic sleep, and while they've slept, their Ark has been invaded. A parasitic insect race, the Wirren, have taken control and threaten the very future of mankind. So we've got a nice little plot on the back of the DVD there. So yeah, basically we've got this space station where there are humans who have left Earth because Earth's kind of gone to shit, I suppose. So they've left Earth and they're cryogenically sleeping on this space station, and what ends up happening is they were supposed to wake up after, I'm not sure, a few thousand years. I'm not sure if it was 5 or 10,000 years, but these insect-like creatures called the Wirren invaded the space station, and basically they destroyed their kind of, well, they always say it's an alarm clock, basically what's supposed to wake them up. They end up destroying that, and yeah, because they want to take over this space station and use the humans that are cryogenically sleeping as kind of, I think it's to make them into more Wirren, to make them into Wirren, to, you know, make their species larger, to grow their species really. So yeah, quite an interesting little concept of a story here. But anyway, let's start off with the cast. So we've got Tom Baker as the 4th Doctor. I mean, he's really good. This is his second appearance, like I said. I don't know what order they recorded these in. I don't know if, you know, Robot was recorded first, then this was recorded second, or if it was some other order. I don't know that. You can probably find out that somewhere. But yeah, this is his second story anyway. And, you know, I think Tom Baker, you know, he slides into the role really quickly. He's very, very good in this one. Yeah, there's not really much else I can say. He's just really good. He has some pretty funny moments, like he always does. He has some more serious moments, and altogether he just really, he feels like the Doctor right off the bat, so that's always a very, very good thing when the actor, you know, gets into it straight away. You have Elisabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, probably my favourite classic companion. She's just such a good companion, and here, once again, she's very, very good. She has a couple of nice little moments, you know, like when she gets, you know, when they arrive on the spaceship to start with, and they're running out of oxygen, she goes into that room and she gets stuck behind, and, you know, some nice little moments there. Then when she gets transported to that other area, you know, she has some nice little moments there. Also when she's like crawling through the vents, that's pretty cool as well. Gives her something to do, so that's always a good thing. Then we have Ian Marta as Harry Sullivan, another pretty underrated companion in my opinion. I mean, he's kind of made to be a little bit stupid. The Doctor, I say stupid, the Doctor kind of has a go at him a lot, a couple of times in this one as well, like when he says something fairly intelligent and the Doctor's like, oh, very good, Harry, you know, you're learning or something, you know, he says it like really weirdly, and, you know, he's kind of putting him down, but in a kind of weird way. He's like, oh, congratulations, you're learning something. So it's kind of funny like that, but yeah, I do quite like Harry. I think he's a good character. Alright, so let's get on to the good and the bad. Starting off with the good, the sonic screwdriver actually is unscrewing screws at the start of this episode. Yeah, I just really thought that was an interesting thing. I mean, when the sonic screwdriver was first ever shown in, I can't remember what story it was one of the second Doctor stories. I believe it's actually one of the missing stories, which is really unfortunate, but when that was first used, it was used to undo screws, but, you know, laser-like. You know, it wasn't just an actual screwdriver, because you didn't actually have to touch the screws, you just pressed it and it undid the screws. And I don't know how many times that was actually done after that point, but I know in this story at the start, when you know, the Doctor and Harry are trying to not get shot by that robot, you know, the guarding robot that shoots anything organic. They're under the table, so it won't shoot the table. So he has to unscrew the table from the ground so that they can move around with the table to get to a place where they can turn off the guard robot. And I love how he just uses the sonic screwdriver to undo a screw. It's such a simple thing, but, you know, you always have the sonic screwdriver, you know, destroying electronics. blowing things up, scanning stuff. So to have it actually just doing what a screwdriver should be doing, I think that's quite fascinating, to be honest. So yeah, like I said, the Doctor and Harry moving around with the table over them, I thought that was a really funny scene. They got under the table to get away from this guard robot, and then they kind of shuffled. I just love how they were like shuffling along with the table. It looked so ridiculous, but it was just great. And it, I think something like that is something that only Tom Baker's Doctor can really do. Maybe Sylvester McCoy's Doctor's kind of that sort of thing as well, but this was the sort of thing that you would expect from the Fourth Doctor. So yeah, just some really funny stuff there. The Doctor's speech about humans, I thought that was a pretty good speech. Where he started with Homo sapiens, then he goes on about that speech about the humans and stuff like that, what humans are like. I thought that was a really good speech, very good for Tom Baker. A little bit silly and a little bit weird here and there, but that fits the Fourth Doctor so well that it just really fits in. What else have we got? The Doctor winding Sarah up to help her get through the vent. I thought that was really funny. Sarah, she gets stuck in that that kind of triangular vent system that she's trying to get through to feed that pipe through. She gets stuck in there, and she's like, I can't get through. She starts panicking, and the Doctor starts like going on at her saying, oh, you're useless, you're absolutely useless, and to wind her up. And she's like, oh, I bet we could do that. You just can't do it, you useless girl, you just can't do anything. And she gets really worked up about it and manages to get through. And I love that scene so much, just the Doctor winding her up. And I love how when she gets out of there, he like smiles saying, well done, you did it. And she's like really angry about it. But then she kind of realizes what he was doing. And yeah, I thought once again, Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, just a really good moment. I just love him like, oh, you're absolutely useless. And I just love Sarah Jane getting so wound up about it. I just thought that was such a funny little scene. And then also this episode leads straight into the Sontaran Experiment, something that doesn't happen too much in Doctor Who as a whole, really, classic or modern series. The final part of this one leads straight into the Sontaran Experiment, which I thought was really cool, especially since I watched the Sontaran Experiment a few weeks, maybe about a month ago now, and yeah, it leads straight into it. I watched that episode wondering what was going on, where it started off, they'd been teleported to Earth. Was it Earth? Pretty sure it was Earth. They were just teleported there and they were trying to figure something out. I was wondering what was going on there. I thought it was just kind of this random thing that was happening, but then I found out that at the end of this episode, the end of part 4 of the Ark in Space, they go on that teleporter to go back to Earth, and that's what happens. And I just thought that's a really good little tie in there, tying episode to episode. It doesn't happen too often, so yeah, it's just a really cool little thing to see. So there are a couple of bad things I do want to talk about. Firstly, the infection looks pretty silly, as it's just green bubble wrap. I think this is a very well-known thing, that this is a lot of people regard this as a pretty good story, but the green bubble wrap is pretty ridiculous. Basically, when people get touched by what is initially that slug, the slug thing kind of turns people into Wirren. It touches you, and then you slowly start turning into the Wirren. Starts off with kind of this bubble wrappy stuff on your arm. So Noah gets, he gets infected, he gets the bubble wrap on his arm, he's turning into a Wirren, and it looks so much like bubble wrap that it's kind of ridiculous. You can really tell the Doctor Who didn't have much of a budget back in the day, can't you? It does look a bit silly. It really does look rather silly. So yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a downside. That's just a budget thing, really. I mean, they could have done a lot better with more of a budget, but sadly that's just how it goes. Also, the Wirren itself looks pretty ridiculous. Like this big giant insect bug looking thing. A little bit ridiculous, especially when it's talking. It just looks like quite clearly just looks like a person in a suit. So that's a little bit silly. And then also this episode, I think, is a little bit slow for the first two parts. The stuff with the robot, when Harry and the Doctor were trying to evade the robot, that was quite interesting, but apart from that, there wasn't a lot of actiony stuff going on in the first two parts until the infection started to spread. So yeah, I did feel like, especially kind of the start of part 2, it was a little bit boring. There wasn't a lot going on, it was quite slow, so that was a little bit of a downside. On the whole though, I actually did quite enjoy this one. It's not one of my classics. I think a lot of people regard this one pretty highly as one of the classics. I don't think I'd quite put it that high, but I still did quite enjoy it. I'm going to give the Ark in Space an 8 out of 10. I definitely think it was good. The only real issues I have with it really is that it is a little bit slow at times, and yeah, some of the effects are not amazing. I will say though, I didn't actually mention, the sets are pretty cool. I do quite like the kind of the look of the sets, especially, you know, the kind of corridors with the you know, the walls kind of, you know what I mean, where they're going through the corridors and stuff. I think they are pretty nice sets. That's another positive. But yeah, on the whole, it's definitely an episode that I would watch again. It was pretty enjoyable. I just don't consider it one of those classics. So yeah, an 8 out of 10. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.